formulated certain questions. I mean, this is very relevant in today's landscape. So I wish to know their viewpoints. The first question is, so there's a lot of cloud adoption happening. If you look at India, it started in 2012, I would say, essentially when we focus on mail or hosting or data. So there is Microsoft, there is Google, there is Azure, AWS, everything's happening. What's your view in terms of cloud adoption, number one, and how regulations are impacting this adoption? I would start with Gopal.
See, if you look at in India, you can classify two set of companies right now. One is very large organizations, and then you have startups and small companies, SME, etc. Very large companies already had a very big set of multiple applications, etc. So for them, when you look at adoption of cloud means it is gradual progression, because you already have something traditionally set up like ERP systems and CRM systems, etc. So it is not easy for everybody to move everything to cloud, so it's a gradual progression. And they are selectively adopting based on the innovations they see and what they fit into the overall enterprise architecture. That is what is got large organizations. Whereas the smaller companies they don't have the baggage of somebody has SAP or ERP systems. So they are easily finding it very easy to adopt new technologies, especially built on cloud. For example, you have lead management systems or ERP systems, etc., or systems which are based on AI, ML, etc. So it's pretty easy for these small companies and startups. A regulation point of view, the only regulated entity or in India which is basically banking and finance is little stringent on data storing in India, outside India, etc. Other than that, other sectors are relatively little easier on adopting cloud or storing data outside India. So from a regulation point of view, if you look at it, there is a view on that personal data of people should not be stored outside India. To some extent, it is relevant, and because if you look at it, let's say that if your personal data is stored, let's say outside India in some country which you don't know, and there is an incident, and where will you go? What is the jurisdiction? Can you actually go to, let's say, go to Ukraine and fight against it? It's tough. Can you go to, let's say, Russia and fight against it? Tough. So as individuals, it is going to be tough. In India, there is liabilities because of regulations in India. Especially some areas like personal data needs proper regulation because of jurisdiction issues and impact it brings to the individuals. Whereas though that is a balance I think the government of India and regulators are bringing in. Other than that, I don't think it is much regulated in India.
So Prashantji, most of the banks have a core banking system, and you as an insurance will have a core system. So would you say that you're ready to adapt cloud with your system today?
I think I'll add to what Gopal just shared. Again, you have certain legacy systems which you have to, so it's not easy, but yes, from the readiness point of view, surely that is the need of an hour, because the way the business is transforming, okay, the entire landscape is changing, okay, going by the likes of the Amazon and the Flipkarts and the e-coms of the world. The consumer experience is actually going to the next level. So even the traditional business is expected to be adapting the same way. So to bring in that agility, I think cloud is the way to go, which will be able to help you adapt that, bring that flexibility and agility to the business, which may not be possible in the traditional business model. So yes, that is surely a way to go. Now, about adoption, it's something which is again a very, very subjective matter, and it can differ from business to business, and what is the kind of regulation or which is governing you. And like you rightly said, data privacy is something which is the biggest area of concern, I don't think only in India but across, and the kind of incidents and the breaches and the data compromises you hear, I think it makes more sense, and every country is now trying to be vigilant about certain things, and the are adapting a zero tolerance towards certain set of data, and I think that's the right way to go about. And especially in the financial services, where to a great extent the impact is very tangible. You are directly dealing with other person's money. I think you need to be more cautious about things, and so you need to bear in a lot of things while adapting that. But yes, again, I think that's the reason. If you see now, your cloud has moved into something from the public cloud. You have the private clouds, you have the hybrid clouds, and everything. So those are the, I will say, the subsets or the offshoots of what started as a public cloud journey. And yes, adaptation is something. If you ask me, it's inevitable. It's just a matter of time, I would say, because end of the day, any business, the way the landscape is changing and you are transforming, survival of the fittest. And I mean, when we were discussing offline with Gopa, the startups are really challenging the way that traditional businesses have been doing tradition so far, and actually giving them their run for the money in terms of a lot of things. So to be in the race, you need to bring in that agility, and for that you need to adapt the cloud.
Tomik, as a technology evangelist and an advisor and a CTO, what's your opinion?
So I think I don't see a confusion in minds about whether we should be adopting cloud or not. There's enough interest out there. People understand the benefits and the advantages. I feel we haven't yet reached a tipping point. Regulations play a big factor over there. The reason is the government is taking it slowly. The government is sort of being cautious about what kind of regulations it brings in. It doesn't want to turn away the likes of Google and Microsoft or Amazon. But I think it's doing the right thing, because if the US is saying that any technology developed locally should have the data stored locally, the Europe is doing it, then I think we as a country should also be considering something like that. If there's a billion people we are talking about, if all the data is going out, there's a lot of intelligence that's going out of the country, right? So the government's taking its time about it. I think, like Prashant said, it's inevitable, it will happen soon. We just have to go about it the right way. So I think once the regulations are clear, I think we see a huge uptake in companies, enterprises jumping to adopt cloud more wholeheartedly.
Great. Rajesh, if you look at your vertical, which is legal, there's a lot of confidential information, critical information. Would you say, okay, is there a classification required, essentially, when you go cloud? Or are you ready to adapt cloud completely?
As far as adaptation or adoption of the cloud is concerned, I think we have already reached the tipping point. We passed the tipping point because the convenience is so huge. The pay as you use option, everything as a service option, the OPEX model over the CAPEX model. So these advantages are so compelling that you cannot avoid using the cloud in some way or the other. And I think a lot of the on-premise and legacy systems are being converted to the cloud very soon. So as far as adaptation to the cloud is concerned, I don't have much of a doubt, whether it's the legal industry or any other industry, because the advantages are so compelling. As far as regulation is concerned, I think regulation always follows disruption. Any industry you take, be it cryptocurrency or aggregators or anything. So first the disruption will happen, then the lawmakers will get together and make regulations for that. We are on the verge of having a personal data protection bill being passed in the current winter session of the Assembly. So hopefully that will make a lot of things clear. It will solidify the legal system for data, private data, personal data protection. So there's a lot of things happening, and I think it's only going to grow. The adoption of the cloud will only grow.
That's good. So what I felt to conclude on that question is, as Prashant said, I don't think India is going to be different than UK or US or any other country. We'll have our own regulations like GDPR. So I was referring to Justice Sri Krishna's data protection law. if you look at the page number 7, it exactly says you can deal with an outside organization as long as you're adhering to something similar. Like, okay, you can prove that you're GDPR compliant. So I had a NBFC asking me a lot of questions because they want to prove to SEBI that we are compliant. So as Kopa said, if you're talking to a country like Ukraine or Russia, or it's not compliant to organizations here or regulations here, you may not be able to do that, right? It's interesting. Can I move to the next one? Perfect. So the second question is, we hear a lot of cyber resilience, and I can see a role of CISO changing to a cyber resilience officer, maybe a chief cyber resilience officer, CCR. So my question is that a new role evolving? So you need a CCRO other than a CISO, or can they coexist, or is it CISO completely evolving to CCRO?
Yeah, so I'm not too much for nomenclature of the designations, but the responsibility is certainly there. But more than the IT responsibility, I think it's a business call that needs to be taken about risk and compliance. So cyber risk being so pervasive and evolving, we all talk about the cloud technology and so many things happening. You have to also remember that the other side, the bad guys. You have the good guys on this side, there are bad guys on this other side. They have the same technologies available to them. They are using artificial intelligence, they are using machine learning. So if they get better, we have to. You also mentioned that we are always catching up. There are always 2 generations ahead of us, which is very true. So we also have to adapt, and the risk is real. It is happening right now. Everyone is getting attacked. Whether you believe it, whether you know it, you are a target. So it is very real, and whatever designations you want to give, every organization has to take responsibility and take cognizance of the fact that the risk is very real and it has to be addressed. Whether you keep a chief risk officer or a compliance officer, whatever designations you have to give, IT guys will assist, they will enable, but it is a business risk.
Great. Dominic.
I think create a role, don't create a role, just make sure the role has authority. You just can't have somebody with no authority managing risk or managing information security.
But do you see a difference in a CISO and a CCRO?
Definitely. The CISO is definitely going to be focusing a lot more on the technology side of things, whether he likes it or not. There needs so these days what we generally see is there's a chief risk officer. And that's the role that I see eventually transforming into not a cyber resiliency officer, but more of a business resiliency role. But there definitely is a difference in the two, where, like Ayushi said, it's more a business perspective than just a tech perspective, even though tech is the primary enabler for most of us.
Perfect. Prashant?
I think I share views of both of them. They have actually given a lot of insight. So just to add on that, if I have to say something, maybe I will just quote one simple example, just considering we have IT folks, and I'm sure everyone would have experienced that. If you ask me from, of course title doesn't make sense, but from the pure role point of view and the way any business would like to perceive these two roles separately, the difference is something similar to what you call a difference between a DR and a BCP. Okay, so while both need to coexist, they both need to be well aligned with each other and everything. But yes, like the rightly said, the resilience officer may be seen more as a business point of view, because in current world we need to accept the fact that no one is immune. It's just a matter of time. So what you can do is just build the resilience around it, and it all depends on your line of business, nature of business, your business requirement, as to what is the kind of resilience you can hold into, what is the tipping point to be announcing that okay, you have compromised and things like that, everything and all. And I think that is where, if you ask me, it's a key differentiator between a CISO and a resilience officer will come into play. As to for a CISO, any compromise, may it be a nano percent or 100% is compromised. While for a resilience guy, what is the gravity of those compromise and how it needs to be perceived from the business point of view to be able to actually get into the next steps, or how you want to action on it is something I feel there is a difference. But yeah, like Bhaumik rightly said, it's all about how much is authority given to these guys. A toothless tiger is useless. So I think that is very important.
Yes. A simple question came in my mind now is, so now for example there is a domain wherein it's a large domain, everyone knows it. But what if your domain is printed on a car? Someone is printing it on a car and going around. Will that be a responsibility of a CCRO to tackle?
Interesting question. I mean, like I said, again, it will surely be the role of the CCRO. The reason being, if you ask me purely from a CISO point of view, there is no, like security compromise, what you'll talk about, going by the pure security framework or the role. But yes, end of the day, it's surely impacting you somewhere. It's impacting the brand in a different way and everything and all. So it will be, and that is why, like I said, it's very interesting. Like you have your current brand protection guys in the physical farmers business also. So I think your question also helps me to add that this is something again of the similar kind on the digital world. So it's surely there. So yes, again, rightly what Rajesh said, title doesn't make a difference. It's all about what is the underlying role and the responsibility it is being played. And again, of course, depending on the size of the organization or the nature of the business they are running, whether they want to have a single role managing the two, they want to segregate it, or they want completely, take it in a different way. So it's finally at the end of the day, it's all an individual perspective to you. But yes, surely they make a lot of difference and they can coexist.
Gopa, so this question came up in my mind because I was approaching an international bank, and I tried to search a person to meet, and I understood that there is 6 people sitting in Chennai for that particular bank who are the InfoSec team. Then I tried to understand who is a CISO. I saw a CISO as well. Then I saw a CISO in London, called as Global CISO. Then I saw a Chief Risk Officer sitting in Singapore. Then I found that there is a Chief Cybersecurity Officer sitting in Dubai. So in finance, I'm seeing a lot of roles, to an extent that there is a disaster management officer, crisis management officer. So do you have something similar in your organization, or do you see a necessity, and is it relevant?
We do have different roles. However, in my opinion, if you look at information security as a domain, we were originally actually considering security of information. It could be physical, it could be printed material, it could be those files sitting in your office which contains customer information, or you are storing the same file in a third-party environment. So from there onwards, cyber has added on to it. You started digitizing, you started adopting products, your product becoming, you are selling those products digitally. So from a CISO role point of view, information protection, you added cyber resiliency into it. When you started adopting more and more services and digital environment, basically one difference we have started seeing is that the technology adoption has significantly increased. For example, you started, I have started public cloud. Then you said, AI ML. Then you said, I am now looking at blockchain, IoT. When these paradigms added on to the role of CISO, now one difference you can see that each of these elements have its own security elements, issues and requirements. I mean, from a CISO's point of view, when you look at the evolution, we have to see that from a cyber point of view, have we added on these elements into his role or not? Is he capable? Does he have a team? he has training. So that is what is important for us to plug it onto CISO's role. You can call it CCRO, but finally all these things are added onto it. Now when you also look at DPO, which is Data Protection Officer, okay, which is coming up in the next PDPB, Personal Data Protection Bill, and mandatorily designated as DPO, are you going to create another position? So you have CCRO, you have a BCP, head of BCM, you have a CISO, you have a DPO, then you have, so how many roles you will create? And all obviously in the similar domain, you started creating so much of roles, it will add into more confusion and then verticalization. Then you typically call politics, okay, data protection karna hai, CISO agree nahi kar raha hai. So it is better to adopt a unified strategy. Maybe under CISO, you create different verticals and you create maybe a pyramid. That's what I believe.
Perfect. Understood. So moving to the next one. So I was covering that there is a requirement to move from the perimeter to pervasive approach in terms of security. My question will be to Rajeshji, how do you tackle the internal threats in your organization? Because you're a legal firm, and you might have a lot of lawyers today. They might be sharing a lot of information. They might be also sharing information to customers. But internally, how you're ensuring that data is not leaked?
Yeah, internal threat is what keeps me awake at night, other than, because external threats we learn from other companies. Internal threat, especially the deliberate and malicious threats, that is one aspect. The other is lack of knowledge, and by mistake people share data or disclose data. So that can be handled by having awareness campaigns, educating people. The malicious threats are something which is difficult, and we are in a unique position because if somebody steals data from us, when exiting, we can sue that person. But that person is one of the best lawyers in the country, So he'll sue us right back. So it is difficult. So what we do is we try and monitor, we try and have logs, and we try and create and spread an impression, not a rumor, an impression that IT is watching everything. So we try to scare people into being compliant.
I hope your employees are not watching.
Yeah, I mean, what more can you do? So it's a difficult problem.
You're right. I totally agree with you.
Okay, Anup, there was a question that inside threat, right? Do we have inside threat at home? Do we have? We hire our domestic help with background verification. We hire security guards with background verification. Now, there is another change. We have Google Home, Amazon, Alexa, right? Is it internal threat? The IoT bringing inside could become an internal threat. Now, second way you look at it, I think in 2006 or something, you saw bomb blast across multiple cities in India, and suddenly we became aware that okay, this is a security threat for us. And then we started looking at unknown objects with a certain view. We need to see that okay, this could be a security threat. Our viewpoint for security from a physical security, our safety, home safety has changed with these incidents. Now when you look at it from a cyber point of view, we started adopting technologies left, right, center. Right? We started adopting things like cloud or other technologies. What we always believed in certain sense was antivirus was everything related to security. But at the same time, we started adopting different technologies over a period of time. Now, when you look at physical way, we are aware about the risk at home. We started putting biometrics, CCTV, etc. But in your digital world, you also need to take that awareness into and say that everything we do in digital have to have a security angle to it. That awareness, belief, and change
will help us a long way.
Interesting. Thank you for that perspective. I think we conclude the panel by these views. If you guys have any questions, any targeted questions to anyone, please. Everyone wants to do. Great. Any questions, or can we wrap it up? Thank you, guys. I give it to Sumit, and thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much.
Just one. I would like to call Mr. Krishnaran Mathuri on stage. We'll just felicitate the wonderful jargons and jargons of the industries.
Maybe when
Anup.
yeah, please.
So, I'd like to Mr. Prashant. Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Rajesh. Mr. Gopal. Mr. Bhaumik. Thank you.